What's up, guys? This is Iron Fist Season 2, Episode 6, The Dragon Dies at Dawn. And it just keeps getting sillier. um, this one, once again, I'm going to keep these really short because I kind of just want to run through this season really quickly. Unfortunately, in between my watching the first 5 episodes and watching these five episodes, Daredevil also got canceled, so I'm a little disappointed by that. So, yeah, I got to deal with that disappointment. Um, but yeah, I really just kind of want to run through these because I'm just like, it's not really got my interest this season, and after this episode, it still really doesn't have it. I mean, it's kind of losing me to the point where I'm almost kind of laughing at how dumb it is and making fun of it during the episode, and that normally doesn't happen for these Netflix shows. Like, I don't know, I don't normally make fun of these shows like I would in the middle of like Supergirl or Arrow. Those shows have made some really dumb decisions that as I'm watching it, I'm laughing about how dumb it is. And this one, I mean, let's talk about that final scene because really that's all that matters. The rest of it is all, Ward and Joy, they're having their conversation, which Joy's reasoning is still so bizarre that it just doesn't make any sense. Oh, the only reason I could do that to Danny is because I couldn't do that to you or Dad. Wait, so your reasoning why you hurt Danny is because you didn't want to hurt Ward? I can't hurt my dog, so instead I'm gonna hurt one of my friends. Yeah, I have to hurt somebody, right? I can't just be a normal human being and not want to hurt someone. No, I need to hurt somebody, so I'm gonna hurt not my dog because I don't want to hurt my dog. So I'm just gonna pick a friend, I guess, and hurt them instead. Like weird. The stuff with Joy, or not Joy, Colleen and Misty, I mean, they're just going around trying to find the people who did the ceremony that gave Davos the Iron Fist so they can reverse it. So they find them in this episode and get them to agree to help out after a fight, which was pretty much pointless. It was just, oh, we want to see Colleen fighting again, so let's have that happen. Um, Davos is going around killing people. So ultimately, like all of this is leading to the final scene because Mary or Walker at this point gets Danny and takes him there, trying to get Davos, trying to inject him and knock him out so that they can bring him to have the ceremony. And ultimately, it works. It doesn't quite work out as they planned it because the Mary doesn't get a chance to inject him. She only stabs him. So he manages to get her off, and then Danny comes up and injects him. And that ultimately is enough to knock him out, but not before he breaks Danny's leg. Which I will say it was pretty interesting to see he has two Iron Fists, not just one. So I'm wondering how he was able to do both when Danny's only been able to do one. Because they just transferred the powers. It's not like he took Danny's power and multiplied it, and yet now he has more power for some reason. I don't quite know why. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that he's killing people. But yeah, so he has apparently the ability to use both. But anyway, so they inject him. He finally passes out. Danny's leg is broken though, so Walker calls the ambulance. And what should happen but a storm? And all of a sudden the noise. And I'm like, oh, didn't she say something about noises like rain, something like that earlier? And then all of a sudden the flashing lights of the ambulance. I'm like, oh, and strobe lights. Didn't that say something about her changing back to Mary? And in my mind, what I'm thinking is, okay, she's going to turn back to Mary. This shouldn't change anything, but I feel like it's going to for some dumb reason. It does. Yeah, because she turns into Mary, and Danny's like, look, Mary, we need Walker back. She needs to finish her job so she can go to the cabin. She's like, she's going to the cabin? She can't take me to the cabin. I'm leaving now. And walks away. So let's talk about all the problems with this. First of all, the fact that the villain is now going to escape from the plan that they had to capture him because the like psychopath personality turned back into the nice girl personality. That's the reason why. Not because the nice personality that was helping Danny turned into the psychopath personality that doesn't want to help anyone. No, the psychopath personality that wanted to help Danny turned into the nice personality that wants to help Danny, but in this case doesn't want to. Because Danny has to word it in the worst way possible. He has to word it in a way that makes Mary think, oh, she's going to take me away and I'm never going to be Mary again. No, I can't let that happen. It's so dumb. And let's not even talk about the fact that Danny can't even say to the ambulance workers, hey, there's a guy in there. You know, the guy, you've heard about all these triad killings? That guy is in there right now, knocked out with medicine. Can you go deal with that? And it's not like the ambulance workers are going to do anything to Mary, even though she's clearly got cuts and bruises. They're just like, oh, yeah, she's good. Let her go. Yeah, it's all good. This is the reason why our villain's going to escape for this episode. Not because, Mary double crosses Danny for some reason. Not because Danny does something stupid that messes up the plan. Not for any of those reasons. Not because Joy shows up and decides she wants to help Davos. That would have still been stupid, but it would have made more sense than this. No. It's because Mary came back out. Walker went away. Mary came back out, and that's the reason why. Even though there are ambulance workers there, even though there are people that could probably tie up Davos or inject him some more, and all Danny has to do is just say, hey, I'm the Iron Fist. The guy that's been killing people is in there. Let's go get him. Nope. None of that's going to happen. And Davos is going to continue to be free. Because let's face it, I mean, this show just has no other clever way to do it. So, yeah, that's about it for this one. I mean, the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter. Nothing else really stood out about this episode. The rest of it was just kind of generic, bland, blech. And then that last part was just dumb, stupid. So, yeah. See you guys in the next one in just a second. And now episode 7, Morning of the Mindstorm. So in this one, Ward goes back to drink. Well, he doesn't go back to drinking, but he pretty much relapses. This time he's drinking. Finds out that apparently he has a son with the sponsor. Don't know where that's going. But it is kind of sad because Ward for me has been probably my favorite character this season, just because a lot of his reactions to what Danny is going through, most of the time they're perfect. Because like he's so dry with his delivery. It's honestly been one of the few things. I haven't had a chance to talk about it because I've only been talking about the things that I don't like. But it really has been probably one of the bright points of this season. Like whenever Danny talks about, I've got to fight Davos and get the dragon, he's just like, right. I don't know, just his delivery has been very, very good. And so to see them sort of separate him in this episode from all of that and take him down his own little side story and have him go through this whole relapse thing and oh no, now he's going back and now he has a son and oh my gosh and he didn't know. I don't know. It's just kind of dumb. It's thrown in there to add extra story and extra plot on at the end. It's just not needed. We see Mary apparently after one episode where she goes back to Mary for a little bit just so the bad guy can get away. And this one she goes back, Joy comes and talks to her trying to get to Walker for protection. Mary realizes, oh, Walker's been protecting me this whole time, and then decides that she's going to let Walker choose their fate, whatever they decide, and leaves her a video about it, and that's all that happens for her. Danny, after his broken leg, is trying to go through rehab, gets some sort of Rantech, sort of similar to the Rantech that Misty got to replace her arm. He gets that to go through the rehab quicker, and then at the end of it, he's trying to fight. And one of the things I loved about this at the beginning was how whenever he and Colleen were going through this, it wasn't the typical like, oh, you went with Walker, you went against what I wanted you to do, you did all this, and they even have a conversation where he's like, I just keep testing this relationship, and she's like, look, it doesn't have a guidebook. Like, we make mistakes. I'm like, that's so good to see. Yes, they make mistakes. Yes, sometimes they get frustrated, but they work through it. Just for them 10 minutes, 15 minutes later to start fighting over this whole thing. So, congrats on ruining one good thing that you did by doing something stupid. And ultimately, that fight leads to, oh, she trains him anyway, so what was the point of it? I don't know. It was dumb to see them not fight and go against the grain on most of these like TV show relationships where they would fight and bicker and argue for the rest of the season until at the end they realized, oh, we need each other and make up. I'm just like, okay, they're not gonna do that, and then they do that, and now she's training him, and then she even says, I have to disconnect myself emotionally, which means there's gonna be moments where he's like, you're still angry with me. No, I just told you I can't think about you like that, and she's clearly thinking about him like that, and it's gonna affect her training. Like, do we really need to spend time on this? I don't know. It just feels like this could be time devoted to something better. that being said, what else could you devote it to? Because Davos is now training these kids, apparently, that they've been talking to all season, just off and on, the scavengers or whatever. Now he's training them to help them or whatever. I don't know. It's just kind of dumb. It feels sort of forced in there. And then Joy goes back to Davos to talk to him about stuff. She mentions the bowl, so maybe she's trying to get it by gaining his trust and getting the bowl to help Danny get the Iron Fist back. Possibly. I don't know. I hope that's the case, because if she's actually going to Davos, like, oh, I thought about what we did to Danny, and you're right, it was correct. I felt good about it. Oh, I'm evil now. If that ends up being the case, that's just gonna be dumb. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that she has not really gone back to Davos because she wants to be evil, and that's who she is, and that's I've realized now that's who I am. I'm evil and just like my father. I hope it's to get the bowl back, and that's all. But yeah, I mean, overall, just another bland episode. Yeah, still not really. It feels like, I mean, this is the season right here. It's Davos gets the Iron Fist from Danny, and he's trying to cleanse the city in his own way. Killing random people, killing all the triads, and that's pretty much it. I, Ooh, I'm so excited to see more of that. Like, who cares? I was never interested in Davos. I was never really that fully like interested in his character in the first place, and the relationship that he and Danny had wasn't fully explored. It was this season, not very well. And it's just like, yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden he's the bad guy, and yeah, there you go. Now he's the bad guy for this season, guys. He's the other Iron Fist that Danny has to fight. So I don't know. It's weird. It's dumb. Still not really getting into it. So yeah, on to the next episode. See you there. Now, episode 8, Citadel on the Edge of Vengeance. So, point in this episode's favor, excuse me. Whew. Point in this episode's favor, Joy does actually have a decent plan on how to get Davos out of the room and how to steal the bowl. It was actually a clever plan, and I'll give the show credit for that. However, points against it. Yeah, Mary's story, not all that interesting. Apparently, she might have another personality, possibly. They're not being very clear with it. I don't know. It's explored at the beginning of the episode, then not talked about again after that. They're going to try to look into it a little bit, I guess, because Mary's trying to find out Walker's trying to find out what happened in Sokovia. So yeah, I mean, it's not all that interesting. I don't really care about Mary. We're exploring this way, way, way too deep into the season, and because this is a shorter season, if she had turned out to be maybe more of a villain, or maybe even more of a main character, like helping out, this could have been an interesting story. But as it stands, we've got 2 episodes left, and so we're taking away time from the main story, which, in all honesty, I'm still not caring about, but it's still the main story. And so that's where the focus should be. It should be on Danny and Davos fighting, Danny trying to get the Iron Fist back, and all of that, what that entails. But I can tell there's still a lot of story left with this Walker storyline, and we're probably going to take quite a bit of time over these next or final 2 episodes to talk about it. So, not really sure what the plan is here. Maybe it'll be interesting. I just don't see it being interesting. It feels like, oh, maybe she has another personality. Maybe that personality is even crazier than Walker. Okay. Another point against it, the kids that are following Davos. Yeah. I mean, let's just talk about the fact that they're instantly like, oh yeah, let's all go join him. In fact, there's a ton of kids that join up. And then, like, I don't know, some of them join and they're willing to help. BB, the one kid all this season, has kind of been helping out Colleen and Danny from time to time. He isn't really for it, tries to turn against Davos, and then Rhino, the guy that I guess is kind of the head of their little group of scavengers, he throws him in a dark room, and then when Davos goes out and kills the old man, then Rhino's like, oh no, I don't want any part of this, and then one of the other kids slits his throat and just like, yes, we're with you, Davos. It's like, wait, so everybody's completely for him, but then when he kills a guy, that is enough to cause one of them to be like, whoa, this isn't right. And then the rest of them are still just like, oh, no, no, no. This is right. We're all killers now. So much so that we're going to kill the guy that's kind of our leader. Like, what? It's just so like random and out of nowhere, and just like these kids all of a sudden going crazy and just like, yes, we want to kill too. Oh, um, let's see what else went against this. Everything, I don't know, everything going on with Danny and Colleen right now. I don't know if this is something where we've been with them for a couple seasons and really gotten to know them, and they've been together for a couple seasons, and then they had to go through all of this. I maybe would feel a bit more for it, but as it stands right now, I just don't care much about this storyline. Like Danny losing the fist, him realizing, oh, it's about the power. I've only wanted the power. Colleen possibly getting the Iron Fist. So, like, what is the point of all of this? We know Danny's gonna get it at the end anyway, because he is the Iron Fist. They're not gonna give it to Colleen, and if they do, then what's the point? And maybe that's why the show got canceled, because they're like, crap, we don't know what to do with Colleen with the Iron Fist, so yeah, let's just cancel it. Just cancel the show. Come on, cancel it. um, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's like after all of this is said and done, the show thinks it's so clever with its writing that we understand where Danny is coming from with this whole, oh, I can't have the Iron Fist. But the thing is, we never really got to experience that much with him. I remember a couple episodes in the first season where Madame Chow, I think was her name, where she was kind of like taunting him a little bit because he had the Iron Fist and like trying to kind of sway him to her side a little bit. But he never like really gave in, and it's like he learned to control that anger. He learned to control that side of him, I thought. And now it's like they're bringing it back up randomly out of nowhere. So whenever he's fighting with Colleen and she's like, what are you fighting for? He realized, oh, I'm not fighting for any of you. I'm not fighting for you or the city. No, I'm fighting because I want the Iron Fist back. And I can't, that just scares me. So I can't deal with that. Oh no, I want the power so badly. You have it. I can't do that. It just seems weird and it makes him look kind of weak. So again, kind of a strange way to take this season. I I guess I could say that I don't it's got me guessing. I don't quite know what's going to happen. I still get the idea that he and Davos are going to face off at some point and that he's probably going to get the Iron Fist at the end of the season, but I don't know, like it's weird. It feels like this isn't a you're keeping me guessing in a good way. It's more like you're keeping me guessing because you're taking this season in some very bizarre and not really all that interesting paths. So I don't know. Still waiting to see how the season's gonna end. Two more episodes, so I'll see you guys in the next one in just a second. Now episode 9, War Without End. Basically this is all building up to the final climax. Because we see, this is pretty much the episode where they capture Davos and then try to take the Iron Fist away, and then like I said, it seemed like it was leading up to this. Now Davos, it looks like, still has the Iron Fist because he uses it to break the separation, but now Colleen has the Iron Fist as well. And I'm just like, ooh, could it be the two Iron Fists are about to fight each other? And I'm sure there's going to be a point where they hit Iron Fist together, and because it's just also predictable. Because I've seen this before. I've seen equal powers clashing before. It's just so predictable. And then there's something to do with Walker taking Misty for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, like, because she and Ward go to save Joy, because she got pushed off a ledge and then didn't die because can't kill off Joy. And then Misty goes to save Joy, and then Ward shows up, shoots the guy she's fighting, and then Walker finishes the guy off, and then she's like pointing the gun at Misty, who's like going to grab for her gun. She's like, "Don't! You're not a cop killer. I'm not." And then bash her in the face with the butt of the gun. So I don't know if she's taken her somewhere or if she just did that so she could get away. Again, I don't know what's going on with Walker. They go and get her redacted file so we can find out what happened to her just for her to burn it. And we hear like guys saying, "No, don't do it." And then as she's burning it, like, we hear people shouting and screaming and the file's burning away. And it's like, oh, so something bad must have happened. We already knew that! We knew something bad happened. We wanted to know what it was that happened. But no, let's just burn it all away like it never existed. Unless they show us what happened in the final episode, I'm gonna be pissed if that's really how her story ends. It's like, oh, you never find out. You just gotta. It's all a mystery. Whew, man. I had some beans earlier. It was not a good idea to do this before the reviews. Anyways, but yeah, so don't know what's going on with that. Like I said, they do manage to capture Davos. Danny beats him in a fight. I did like the fact that he kind of played up the injury a little bit because it's what he was being trained to do, make Davos think that he has you at a disadvantage. So he's like really playing up the limp. So Davos is like, oh, psh, no problem. And all of a sudden Danny's like equally matching him. So I did like that part of it. It was very clever. I also, this is probably really bad. I like the fact that that one bodyguard or whatever, I don't even know if he was a bodyguard or what he was, but he's the one that was being all antagonistical towards Danny and Colleen earlier in the season. And you could tell he was thinking of himself as all high and mighty, like, oh yeah, I'm the best. Like, you guys, you don't stand a chance against me. And so whenever they're leading the people out, Davos, like, shows up in the kitchen and he's like, go, I got this. Like, closes the door all dramatic, pulls out his axes. He's like, come on. And then Davos finishes him in, like, literally 30 seconds. It was just, I don't know why. Whenever a character so cocky thinks he's like, I'm going to take him on now, and then gets whooped like that, it is so funny. Because, like, literally, he takes one swing, loses one of the axes, takes another swing, Davos takes that axe and throws it and hits him in the chest, powers up the fist, and then knocks his head off. I'm just like, that was funny. That was extremely funny. I think they purposefully made him seem like such an arrogant prick just for that scene. If so, bravo, you get another point. Again, it doesn't really measure up to all the negative points this season, but it was another point. It made me laugh. Thank you for that. But yeah, so now we're in the final episode, and I'm not really all that interested, but, gotta finish it up so we can move on to, hopefully, Daredevil Season 3, which is better. Hopefully. So yeah, see you guys there in a second. And finally, Episode 10, A Duel of Irony. I mean iron, I'm sorry. A lot of ironic stuff in this, like this fact that the line that starts off the episode is, nothing can end without a new beginning. Like, huh. So after you get a new beginning and a new Iron Fist, that's when your show ends. How ironic! The other irony, though, is that, honestly, by the end of this, I actually did kind of want a Season 3. And not because this season was any good, and probably if they did have a Season 3, it probably would have ruined a lot of these stories, let's be honest. But, I mean, there's a lot of stuff at the end that actually I did want to see more of. After Colleen whips out the freaking sword and Danny whips out the pistols and they both use their iron fists to charge up the weapons, that would have been awesome. Like, I wanted to see some more of that. Why couldn't we have gotten some of that this season? Danny exploring his powers more instead of him losing his powers and then Davos getting in, blah, 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 all of that. That was interesting. Mary, I want to see more about her story because, frankly, they just sort of threw it in right there at the end. It's like, oh, look at this. Maybe an interesting character, but we'll never know because we just now introduced her. I want to find out more about her, but no, we don't get to learn anything about her, which means it would have been saved for next season. Ward and Danny traveling the world together. Honestly, a very interesting concept. Now, I will admit, at the end it did get a little goofy, and the fact that he just suddenly has iron fists again, and two of them, and the fact that he learned to imbue the weapon with that power, the fact that all of that happened, and they just sort of threw that in at the end, like, oh, look, guys, he does have the iron fist again. They could have ended it with just him and Ward leaving in the plane, and I would have been like, okay, I want to see that. The fact that they threw that in was a little goofy, but I'm sorry. Ward reacting to Danny and his stuff and his Iron Fist stuff and all of the cheese stuff, that is probably the best part, the only good part of this season, aside from that one guy that got killed off instantly because he thought he was a badass. That would have been fun to watch. Watching Danny and Ward together traveling the world as Danny maybe tries to find his center again. Maybe that's how he gets his Iron Fist back. They could have done that. It could have been Davos takes the Iron Fist at the beginning of the season, and then Danny and Ward he has to travel to try to find his center again to get the Iron Fist back. Instead of whatever bullshit story they came up with this season with Davos killing people and Danny, oh, I don't know if I want the Iron Fist anymore. It's, oh my gosh, I just don't know. All of that stuff, the bullcrap emotional stuff, Joy, her stuff, randomly throwing Mary in, and then at the end, like, oh, maybe she's an interesting character. We'll never know now. It's like they had some interesting concepts at the end of this season that I would have liked to see more of, but based on this season was awful. I mean, really, the story was bad. The conflict in it was not really that good. I mean, it wasn't understandable. They didn't do a good job of building up to it. It really was a poor season. And then they end it, and I'm just like, I want to see that. I wanted to see the concepts that they threw in at the end of this episode. I wanted to see that come to fruition, but because you made such an awful season 2, I'm not going to see any of that happen. I'm not going to get to see Danny and Ward and their, the back and forth between the two of them, which is honestly really funny. I'm not going to find out more about Mary and what her character is, and the fact that she has a third altar, and like, what happens? How does it get triggered? What is this altar? Is it something like the Hulk where she turns into a monster, or is she just a savage killer? Like, what is that third altar? I want to know. I want to know about that. I want to see Colleen being the Iron Fist, honestly. Finding out that apparently she was descended from one of the original, like, Iron Fists, like, one of the first people who fought the dragon. That's an interesting concept. Like somebody who's descended a long, long line. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. But it fell into that same hole that I think not a lot of superhero shows, some superhero shows I think have done that they don't really do a good job of, and it did the same thing. It's taking away whatever makes the main character. And some shows just think it's such an interesting concept of, oh, so Danny's not the Iron Fist anymore. Oh, so Oliver's not the Green Arrow anymore. Oh, so Barry Allen's not the Flash anymore. Like, it's a concept that these TV shows, when they play with it, it's never handled properly. Like, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to humanicize these heroes that have these abilities that are way beyond ours. They're trying to make them more human. They're trying to make it seem more relatable for us. But here's the thing, we don't need that. I watch these shows, suspend my disbelief, and I watch them to get entertainment. I watch them to watch these fictional stories take place that looks like that's really happening. With the CGI, with the acting, with all the stuff that goes on. I watch it because I believe it could happen. But when you do this stuff that makes them more relatable, or try to make them more relatable, it actually takes me out of it more, because now I'm not watching the Iron Fist anymore. Now I'm watching something else entirely. It was the same thing with Jessica Jones. I wasn't watching a hero anymore. I wasn't watching Jessica be a hero. I was watching her deal with family problems. That's not what I want to watch a show for. And don't get me wrong, the stuff with Ward and what he had to go through and trying to talk to Bethany at the end of it, I honestly felt for that, because he is human in the midst of all of the superhero stuff. I relate to Ward. That's what you did well. You made me relate to Ward in that moment. When he was talking to her, it was truly heartbreaking at the end when he's like, I don't know myself. And she's like, well, you need to find out who you are. And he's like, well, I don't like myself. I'm like, that's very relatable. He's a side character. We can relate to him because he's not a superhero like Danny and like Colleen. We watch them to get the action, to get the excitement, to get the entertainment. And then you can throw Ward into the situation, him reacting to Danny, him dealing with this life stuff on top of dealing with everything else. And that is relatable, because it's like, what would I do in the midst of all of my life problems if all of a sudden my stepbrother became like, or not even stepbrother, but just like somebody who I saw as my brother had these powers, and I had to deal with that as well, and just, I didn't believe a word of it, but then I saw it, and I'm like, oh, it's actually real. They handled certain aspects of that well, but so much of this season was so bad, I can totally understand why it's not getting season 3. But, like I said, that's actually kind of sad. Because I look at some of these stories, I look at some of the potential in these stories, and I'm just like, if this show had better writing, if this show did a better job with season 2, focused more on developing Danny as a character and developing his powers and developing maybe Colleen's relationship with him, giving her the same backstory still, a lot of this could have been very, very interesting come season 3. But they failed. Instead, they made it about a friendship that we didn't really care about, that they didn't devote enough time to, and that's a problem. So I know I kind of skipped through this season because honestly, a lot of it feels like it should have been skipped through just so we can get to this stuff that they showed us at the end. And that's probably the biggest failure of the season so far, is the fact that at the end of it, it did make me care. It did make me want a season 3, but didn't do enough to show us why it deserved a season 3. So, yeah, I mean, all in all, very frustrated with this season. Even more frustrated now seeing the potential, seeing the possibilities. And yeah, I could probably look up these actual characters and see what their stories are. I could probably look up Mary Walker and see what type of character she is. But I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it play out. I wanted to be surprised whenever I found out who her third alter is. And now I don't get to see any of that. So, thanks a lot, writers of Iron Fist. You screwed it up. So anyway, that's it for Iron Fist Season 2, and now moving on to Daredevil Season 3. Don't know when that upload's going to happen, because I'm, busy out of my mind for the next few weeks, but I'm sure it'll happen eventually. So anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in this season and everything that happened? Let me know. We can talk about it, discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. Future Netflix show, Marvel reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.